Michelle Halder made history becoming the first woman to win a TCR Europe race. We'll tell you all about her victory. Vicky Piria, after struggling last weekend, she rebounded and made some history as well this past weekend. And the 24 Hours of Le Mans. We'll talk about all the women racing right here on Grid Girls.
Hello everyone, welcome to Grid Girls, weekly recap and preview of all the women racing to win around the globe. We have a lot to report and cover today. Joe from the Grid Network, Daniel from Racers, the girls behind the helmet. We're also going to preview the women racing at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. That's this upcoming weekend. But first we'll start at TCR Europe and Michelle Halder's historic day.
Hello everyone, from Daniele from Racers Behind the Helmet. I'm very glad to continue our collaboration with the Grid Network this week with the weekly recap, as Joe said. You are right, it was a very historic day for TCR Europe and for motorsport in Europe, as Michelle Halder won the second race in Zolder for the TCR European Championship last week. Michelle is a really new addition to the championship. She was racing in the Adac TCR Germany last year, and at the beginning of this year she was again announced to be racing there in her small family-run team Halder, together with her brother Mike. After the first race in Nürburgring, the second race in Nürburgring, where actually Michelle won her second TCR Germany race after Mike was disqualified. The small team decided to pull out of the championship because it was a debatable, questionable disqualification from the team, and they decided to switch to the European Championship, which is a big step for a small team like theirs. But it actually turned out to be a great move from Team Halder. They won with Mike the first race at Le Castellet in the race 2 again. Michelle did very well for her first time in the championship. She was P12 and P13, very close to the top 10 at her first time in the European-based TCR Championship. And at the second, her second race in Zolder, a racetrack where she never drove before, worldwide TCR championships. Jessica had a slightly more difficult weekend. She still clinched the top 10 in the second race. She was 10th. After a retirement in the first race, she spun off in the gravel and she retired in the first race. Jessica was the first woman to be on the podium last year in TCR Europe at Hockenheim, which was P3, and Michelle could top that result and win the first woman race for a woman in the TCR Europe.
Very excited to see Michelle get that first win. Now, one question, especially for some of our viewers in the United States that are not familiar with TCR Europe and the TCR Series, how does her race team going into TCR Europe rank with some of the other touring car series around the world, especially since they're a really small team?
Yeah, actually, TCR, as you said, it's very. It's not a championship; it's a format. Since TCR entered the touring car scene, it actually has been adopted by many previous touring car championships all around the world. TCR Europe is the most competitive TCR championship around Europe, of course, which is a step below the WTCR, the World Touring Car Championship. And of course, there are the best teams and drivers that have been competing in the national championship. So there is a Italian TCR championship, there is a Spanish TCR championship, there's a British, German, and all different national TCR championships. And the best drivers step up to the European TCR championship. So even there are usually teams that are going to or they are eyeing the world championship, but also some smaller teams like the Halder teams can compete, and sometimes they find themselves to be pretty competitive there.
Very exciting stuff. I know we'll definitely be following more about Michelle, Jessica in the TCR Europe Series. Very exciting to see them all compete and earn wins. Now, of course, here in the United States, we had a lot of racing going on, starting with some of the short track racing that we saw this past weekend. We saw the ARCA Royal Truck and Trailer 200. Haley Deegan, she started third place, looking for some redemption. She led a bunch of laps the last prior weekend, got a fifth place finish after a late tangle. This time, she wasn't able to lead any laps. We only saw 3 different leaders. One lead change occurred right at the beginning and then much later on to race. So it was very much dominated by some of the other drivers. Haley did come in 6th place. She is still 3rd in the ARCA Menard standings. So still 3rd place. Overall, that has to be a good effort for her. She's going to be racing this upcoming weekend at Bristol Motor Speedway, which is definitely one of the crown jewel tracks for NASCAR, but it's definitely one of the harder tracks, especially for the ARCA Menard Series. A lot of these short track drivers, they've done the racing in the short track, but then they're going to come to a short track with all the banking, all that speed. It's going to be a lot of action going on at that race. The other short track we saw this past weekend was at Richmond Raceway, in which we saw Jennifer Jo Cobb and Natalie Decker both compete. Richmond Raceway is a 0.75-mile NASCAR short track. It hosts the NASCAR Cup and Xfinity Series annually. However, for the Truck Series, this was the first time in 15 years that Richmond was hosting a race. Of course, this is all part of the pandemic situation. The Toyota Care 250. Jennifer Jo Cobb, Natalie Decker. Unfortunately, bad luck for Jennifer Jo Cobb. A clutch issue entered her night pretty much right before the race was able to get going. So she was unable to get that effort going. Natalie Decker, she started 27th, but she had some issues with her 44 Nice Motorsports Chevrolet. She came home in 34th place. The next race weekend for them both is Bristol Motor Speedway, September 17th. So tonight right here. And reminder, if you know of any upcoming racing women in local short tracks or local karting tracks, let them know about our program. Let us know about them. We'd love to feature them sometime in the future. We also want to give a special congratulations to Gracie Trotter. Gracie Trotter got a historic win in her NASCAR late model at the historic Hickory Motor Speedway. Hickory Motor Speedway is very significant when it comes to NASCAR fans. A lot of drivers such as Dale Jarrett, Neil Jarrett, all come through the track. Dale Earnhardt, Tim Fedewa. Big opportunity to see her race. Of course, you can find it on Facebook at Hickory Motor Speedway's Facebook page. You can see the whole race. She held off a hard charging 2nd place, 3rd place driver, holding him off the last few laps. Well-earned win. Big congratulations to Gracie Trotter. She races late models, which late models are part of the NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Racing Series. She is 19 years old, and she is part of the Toyota Driver Development Program, and she's looking to add part-time with the ARCA Menard Series. So that's a brief update of everything going on here in the United States. Very excited to follow everyone here in the U.S. And definitely now we'll go to Formula Renault Euro Cup and Vicky's past weekend.
Yeah, we spoke about Vicky Piria last weekend. She made her debut in the very competitive Formula Renault Euro Cup Championship. She had a tough weekend last time out, as we spoke last week. She was at the Nürburgring, but it was, as we said, all about learning the car, the team. And as we said last week, it would have been a better weekend this time in Magny-Cours in France for a second time in the championship, and it was just like we said. She had the opportunity to test on Tuesday before the race weekend. Actually, the first race wasn't that good for her. She retired during the opening lap for a technical issue, but she showed her progresses and her improvement in the second race, where she was P10. She had her first top 10 in the championship. As we said, it's an uber competitive championship. Last year, the Formula Renault Championship has been won by Oscar Piastri, who notably won the FIA Formula 3 Championship this year at the last race in Mugello. So as we understand, it's super important championship in the European Formula ladder. And Vicky was P10 in the second race in Magny-Cours. It was another racetrack that she had not driven before, but she had the opportunity to test. She improved a lot. She's starting to feel a lot more at home with the Bitech racing team. She has been racing those 2 weekends in subbing in for Nicola Marinangeli, an Italian driver that was injured in a car crash, in a road accident. He will be back for the third round at the Zandvoort. But Vicky had the opportunity to race also her second race in a row, as it was a back-to-back weekend. And it was another historic moment for the championship, because it was the first time since 2006 when a woman had scored points in the Formula Renault Euro Cup Championship. And actually, it was the first time that a woman scored points since the Formula Renault Euro Cup Championship had adopted the Formula 3 cars. Because last year, from the first time last year, Formula Renault switched to the Tatuus Formula 3 cars that are also employed in the Formula Regional European Championship, the Asian Formula 3 Championship, and also the All-Women W Series, where Vicky has competed last year. The previous last woman to have scored points in the championship was Rahel Fry in 2006. So it was a 14-year hiatus that Vicky broke, and actually, finally, she could make she could show her improvements, and it's also very important coming into 2021, where Vicky will be back again for W Series for the second year of W Series. And we will see if she will be able to join other championships later this year. So far, there is nothing certain. There is nothing set. Maybe she will do some more racing the Smart E-Cup, but which is a electric touring car championship in Italy. But nothing in Formula has been planned for her. So hopefully she will have another opportunity to race in Formula cars this year.
Looking forward to seeing her continue racing Formula cars. I know from Formula Renault over to the W Series, when it comes to the cars, the W Series cars, of course, we don't have W Series this year, but 2021 we do. How big of a difference is there any between the W Series cars and the Formula Renault cars?
Well, actually, the chassis is identical. They are both employing the Tatuus Formula 3 car. They're both employing the same tire manufacturer as well, the Hankook tires. While, for example, the Formula 3 Regional European Championship is employing Pirelli tires, and the Formula 3 Asian Series is employing the GT tires. So it's always the same car, the same chassis, but different tires. And actually, we spoke with a couple of drivers, for instance, Jamie Chadwick, for example, who has driven all three cars. And she said that the tire make a huge difference on the driving side of these cars. For example, in the Formula Renault Euro Cup, as you said, and the W Series car, there are different engines. The W Series car has the Autotecnica Alfa Romeo engine, while the Renault Euro Cup has obviously a Renault engine. But the chassis is basically the same, and also the tires are the same. And from what some of the drivers told us, the tires make a lot of difference on these cars. The biggest difference, I think, it's teams, because the W Series has just one team, which is Adac, and which is running all the cars. And the drivers have different engineers and mechanics race after race. They are decided on a race-to-race basis, while obviously in a team-based championship like Formula Renault Euro Cup, there are more or less competitive teams. For example, the ART team, the Prema team, which obviously have huge budgets, while some other smaller teams have smaller budgets. So there's a bigger gap from team to team. While in the W Series, there is less gap, and you get, from a driver point of view, you get a different engineer and different mechanics every race, and obviously also the cars are switched. So it was a very interesting concept that they pioneered last year.
great insight, especially from Jamie Chadwick in comparison on how the tires make a huge difference. Of course, the engine we all know, but especially for some of our new fans to hear that how same chassis but different tire compound can make a big world of difference. Very interesting stuff for everyone to learn. Definitely, of course, we're talking about Jamie Chadwick. We also encourage all our viewers, as we talk about each driver, we display their Twitter or Instagram handle. So be sure to follow all the drivers that we discuss about. Jamie Chadwick, the inaugural W Series champion, was plagued this weekend with gearbox issues during the weekend at the Formula 3 event. She still was able in the third heat to be some of the best racing for Jamie as she came home 5th place to finish there. So really a big improvement considering how she had some bad luck with the gearbox early on. One of the things she said after I'm really happy with the end of the weekend. I really needed that. It's been a pretty difficult weekend with a lot of things happening. Just happy to have it end on a high note, which puts us in a good position heading into Mugello. I'm really looking forward to going there. That's going to be really interesting to see Jamie Chadwick, the Formula 3 cars in Mugello. Of course, Formula 1 had just raced there, and definitely is just one of those cases where when it comes to racing, sometimes we just get plagued with bad luck. I know that gearbox issue had been really frustrating, but definitely seeing how Jamie was able to come back, finish 5th place, very exciting for Jamie Chadwick and her team. And definitely another exciting story you have about Hamda.
Yes, also in Red Bull Ring, where the Formula Regional European Championship with Jamie had raced, there was also the Italian Formula 4 Championship, where Hamda Qubaisi was racing there. It was a mixed weekend for Hamda. She had great free practice sessions. She had a very good qualifying session. It was her best qualifying of her career in Formula 4. Well, of the Italian Formula 4 Championship, because she scored several pole positions in the Emirati-based Formula 4 Championship this winter. But in the bigger Italian Formula 4 Championship, it was her best qualifying of her career. And in the first race, she was 11th across the line, scoring her best finish in the championship. Another driver in front of her got a post-race penalty, so she actually could advance to P10, which was her first top 10 in the championship. And it was the first time that a woman scored points in the Italian Formula 4 Championship, which is like a world Formula 4, global Formula 4 Championship, because there are all the best teams from the European Formula 4 Championships. There are the best drivers as well. Most of the times, the best Formula 4 drivers around Europe are racing both in the German Formula 4 and in the Italian Formula 4, because they are usually not on the same weekend, so they can do both the championships. And Hamda, who will actually be racing this weekend in the Adac German Formula 4, as I said, because her team Iron Lynx just extended their presence also in the German Formula 4 Championship. And she was the first Arab woman to score points in a not national Formula 4 Championship. And so it was a great first race for Hamda. She was enjoying another pretty competitive second race at the Red Bull Ring, but she had the last lap drama. She crashed on the last lap, and she actually was sent to the hospital to do X-rays on her wrist, on her hand, and actually she was not cleared by the doctors to race, to come back and take the start of this third race. So she actually could just compete in the first two races of the Austrian weekend, and but of course the top 10 made it all worthwhile, and yeah, she was very, very happy at the end of the Red Bull Ring weekend. She will be back at Hockenheim. So far, she has only announced the Hockenheim round in the German Formula 4 Championship, but we never know. And we actually had our German correspondent at the Red Bull Ring last weekend, Vivian, and she could record with Hamda some audio clips, which I think are going to be played.
So pre-practice one went really well this morning. I think so. We were 12th out of 30 drivers, so it was really good for the morning session. We started off well, but then for free practice 2 we had new tires, and I had a bit of a mess with my brake balance and position on track. Did not really have the right position, so I messed it up a bit, and so we were P19. So we're now analyzing everything and working for tomorrow for qualifying, and hopefully we'll be better for first qualifying tomorrow. Yeah. For quali 1 it was a bit difficult because there's so many cars on track, so to find my position on the track was very hard, but I managed to find a good position, and it was not too bad. P14 for quali 1. But then quali 2 I was in traffic and messed up my laps a bit, especially towards the end. But it was a P16 and everyone is really close. Like if I improve by 1/10, then I'll be like P13. So it's crazy how everyone is so close. But yeah, I think it's a positive. It's a big step from last time. And it's the best quali I've done so far, so I think it's good, yeah. I'm really happy about race 1. I think we did a massive step. We're again off of the top 10 by 1 position, which happened last weekend as well in Imola. But yeah, I think I'm happy about it. The team did a good job. And from P14 to P11, it's at least, you know, we made some positions, and yeah, it was a tough race. There was a lot of safety cars and some incidents, but thankfully I didn't get caused in any incidents. So yeah, finished the race and positive race, and I think we should move forward from here. We're still trying to find a good setup in the car, and still trying to find also some time would be in you know, on the tracks or sectors. Some of the sectors I'm missing, so trying to improve there, and hopefully race 2 will be better. Yeah, we're starting a bit further back for race 2, but I mean, anything can.
While we were at the Red Bull ring, there was breaking news that Macau this year, for the first time in a very long time, will not be contested with Formula 3 cars, but rather with Formula 4 cars. So we asked Hamda if she's actually planning to try the big race at Macau later this year. And we have a second audio clip.
Macau is with Formula 4 cars this year. Is this a possibility?
Macau? That would be really cool, to be honest. I would love to drive there. I've seen the races there. It's very tight track. So it would be really cool to have F4 there. Yeah, that would be great, to be honest. Yeah.
So it's definitely going to be interesting to see if Hamda's team, Iron Leagues Motorsport, which runs the Abu Dhabi racing operation, will try to extend to Macau for the biggest race of the Formula 4 later this year in November, I think. But speaking about Iron Links, of course, they will also field a car in Le Mans, and I'll leave it to you for the Le Mans preview.
Definitely very exciting. The Macau, I think it's going to be really fun to watch the Formula 4 cars. Big race weekend, of course, and of course this weekend, 24 hours of Le Mans. Originally set for June. Yes, it's September now, but we still got the 24 hours of Le Mans. Very excited, and we got 2 teams we're definitely going to be following and reporting on. The first team is in LMP2. We got Tatiana Calderon, Sofia Flores, and Betskin Visser all racing for the number 50 Ricard Mill team. It's going to be very exciting to see the 3 of them racing. I know already we're seeing activity on their social media for the upcoming race. LMP2, very interesting. This year, LMP1 has very few cars. So there's a good chance, depending on what happens in the race, we might see an overall winner from LMP2 if some of the drivers from LMP1 have some bad luck. When it comes to more women racing there, of course, as you mentioned, the Iron Lynx, they're going to be racing there. Manuela Gostner, Rahel Fry, and Michelle Gaddin, they are all racing in their Ferrari 488. They are an LMGTE AM. LMGT AM is very similar to the other LMGT class as well in the 24 hours of Le Mans. The big difference is when it comes to the AM, you do have some, of course, new drivers that are learning getting up there, whereas in the other class, you do have more of the professionals. But these three, the Ironlings, they are all professionals. They have all raced. As you mentioned, Rahel was the last woman to score points in Formula Renault. We got racers from all around the world here, and those are some of the big three to definitely be watching. Now, of course, the great race does start Saturday, 8:15 in the morning in the United States. It's going to be a full 24 hours long. One of the best ways you can watch it is on Motor Trend website, motortrend.tv. They will have full 24-hour coverage of the great race. And that's not the only race where we got women racing. We got a full weekend of women racing around the world.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We had Gauger Dest, who raced in the Alpine Europa Cup last weekend. We spoke about her last week. She was very frustrated actually last time out at Magny-Cours. She was crashed out of the second race. It was 4 races in a row that she got bad luck and she could not finish the races. So she was very disappointed by that result. But she will be back this weekend for the Polish Touring Car Championship, where she's also racing. I think she will have like 4 weekends racing in a row. As you mentioned before, also the Arca Menards series is racing with Hailey Deegan. The NASCAR Track Series is racing with Jennifer Jo Cobb and Natalie Decker. Also, the GT4 America Championship will be back at the Circuit of the Americas at Austin, Texas, with Erin Vogel racing in the McLaren Flying Lizard Motorsports McLaren, and also Samantha Tan in her own team. Also, Taylor Hagler has been announced to be racing there at Circuit of the Americas with the TC America Championship. Then we've got basically all the European Formula 4 championships. We've got the Adac German Formula 4 championship with Hamda Qubaisi in Hockenheim. We've got the Spanish Formula 4 championship back on track as well. They will be racing at Jerez with the young Swiss girl Lena Buller. Lena is a very interesting young driver. She was huge in karting, on the karting scene, the European karting scene. She's also entered the Karting World Championship. And it's this year it's her first season in Formula racing. So far, she had pretty decent results in the races. She scored top 10 finishes. But I personally think she can do a little bit more. She could be a top 5 contender. She hasn't capitalized yet on her potential. Last time in Le Castellet, she was very frustrated after she rolled over her car in Le Castellet, had a big crash. Fortunately, no harm for her. But she will be back at Jerez. She has been testing there, so we can be pretty certain that she will again fight for a top 5 or top 6 positions. Then we also have the British Formula 4 Championship. This year, there are 2 female drivers on the grid. One is Abby Pulling. Abby is another really interesting driver from England. It's also her first year in single-seaters. She scored a podium earlier this year, and she was actually on pole position on reverse pole at Brands Hatch, but she was crashed out on the first corner. So actually, also Abby has not capitalized on her potential this year. She is coached by another very established female racer, British driver, W Series driver Alice Powell. And so she will be back in the British Formula 4 Championship this weekend at Thruxton. And alongside her, there is also Saudi driver Rima Jafali. Rima is a 27-year-old girl, and it's a very interesting story from Rima. She's quite new to motorsport because she could not start racing until very, very late in her career, because of course in Saudi Arabia women were not allowed to even drive street cars. So she was pretty late to motorsport. When as soon as she could drive, she could have her driving license. She went to the UK and she started racing. And so she's still in a little bit of a development stage. But it's very interesting. Last year, it was her first time in a very competitive series like the British Formula 4 Championship, and she could score 10 top 10 finishes. So she's also someone to watch. This year, she has not been so competitive in the first couple of rounds, but we are sure that as she visits more where she has more knowledge of the racetrack later on in the season, she will show more improvements. And then we also have the Adac GT Master Championship at Hockenheim. GT Masters is the elite GT championship in Germany, together with DTM, of course, where two female drivers will be racing there. One is Simona De Silvestro, and the other one is, sorry about that, it's Carrie Schreiner, sorry. There was also Rahel Frey in entering the championship, but of course Rahel, as you said, will be racing in Le Mans, so she will not be there.
Everything to see everyone racing around the world. Definitely encourage everyone, be sure to follow the website racersbehindthehelmet.com, and you can follow them on Twitter at Behind the Helmet, and they're also on Facebook and Instagram. That'll do for our program today. My name is Joe with Daniel from Racers, the Girls Behind the Helmet. We thank you for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe for more Gritty Girls episodes in the future, and wish everyone a wonderful day.